A lot of you have been trying to get updates and asking about just what police in Harrisburg are doing with regard to a public safety strategy or with anything that's going on. So we decided that we would start holding these series of informational briefings with the media to inform you about the great work. And today we have some special information to bring to you. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Thomas Carter, who will lead us in today's briefing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Hello. Today we're here to talk about the good work that our police agency is doing out there. As a recent, there's been a lot of talk, even from the media, saying, that the Harrisburg police, they're not doing anything, they're not engaging criminals out there, it's all talk, we're fixing numbers. And that sort of hurt, because we have guys out there we have officers out there risking their lives every day in, day out, to make these streets safer. And to my left, I have Captain Derek Moody, CID, Patrol Division Captain Colin Cleary, Sergeant Milo Hooper, and Officer Bates. And I want to let them come to you and tell you, just what their division is doing out here to engage these criminals. Day in and day out, we come into confrontations with street-level dealers, felons carrying handguns, and as you can see, we displayed this at the table of the weapons that we went into every day, the potential danger, the potential life-ending danger that our officers, that they're constantly faced with. So, you can see it live, you can put it on TV. This is drug money that we've taken off the street. This is just one haul in one day of the cash that we take off the street. We have drugs up here displayed, and I'll let each commander tell you, what their division is doing to make this city safer. Starting with Captain Cleary.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. What I'd like to do is just take a minute to talk about what the Uniform Patrol Division and the Harrisburg Bureau of Police, the men and women of the Harrisburg Bureau of Police, are doing to make the city safer, to make the living experience, the working experience, the playing experience in Harrisburg City better. I'm sure everybody's going to want to talk to Sergeant Hooper about the cache he's laid out here and some of the guns and some of the other things that the Street Crimes Unit, with the assistance of one of the canines from Uniform Patrol, what they were able to recover the other night. And I'm going to talk about one particular robbery instance that we recently had. That was just one example of the excellent work that's being done by the men and women of the Bureau of Police. Everybody likes numbers, everybody likes statistics, everybody likes to quantify things, so I'll throw a little bit out at you. In addition to this, in addition to the guns and the drugs and the regular calls for service, the traffic accidents, things like that we have, year to date, the Bureau of Police, the Uniform Patrol Division, has conducted over 2,600 foot patrols. That's individual officers getting out, talking to members of the community, walking around, engaging the community. They've engaged in over 1,700 business checks since the beginning of the year. Either going in, talking to the business, rattling doors at 2 in the morning, doing security surveys, reaching out to the business community. And if you're looking for more recent numbers, since the beginning of the month, we've had over 100 foot patrols and 57 business checks. This isn't something that we started out at the beginning of the year and just letting fizzle away. This is an ongoing change of the culture where we're going out, we're engaging the community, we're engaging businesses, and we're getting our officers face to face with the members of the community. Some of the big areas of concern that people have are quality of life issues. As an example, we ran a curfew detail earlier this month, where we sent teams of officers out specifically, round up juveniles, take them home, cite if necessary, give warnings, give some educational material to the parents, let the kids know that we're going to be out here. We're going to continue that during the summer. We're going to have more of these operations going on. One of the biggest complaints that we have is people riding around with loud music. We've issued 8 citations for that so far this month. We've arrested 18 people for public drunkenness this month. So we're not only attacking the big issues, we're trying to attack the quality of life issues as well. If I can just honk Uniform Patrol's horn a little bit more, I'd like to speak specifically about the robbery at 4 o'clock in the morning on the 11th. What you have is a gentleman that was a victim of an armed robbery. Somebody came up, stuck a gun in his face, and took his property. We had officers responding as a team. One officer responded, or more than one officer, but one officer spoke with the gentleman. He was able to give an excellent description. The other officers flooded the area, spotted a couple people who fit the basic description, which were not the person, but they also were able to spot the offender in a convenience store. They were able to surround the convenience store, confront the offender, take him into custody without anybody getting hurt, recover some of the property that he had hidden inside the store. So that's just one example of the officers working together as a team, trying to keep the citizens of Harrisburg safe. So I'm sure everybody's going to have much more interest in what's on the table here, though. So, Chief, do you want to turn over to Sergeant Hooper? Or Captain Moody? So, and Captain Moody will fill you in on what's going on with CID.
Good morning, everyone. Let me start first by apologizing if I sound a little funny. I had a dentist appointment today. My mouth's still a little numb. So, as I can touch on what was spoken about by Captain Cleary, CID has continued to support the uniform issue or the initiative from the Uniform Patrol in a host of different ways. What we're currently working on now, obviously, as everyone is aware of, we have a couple of open homicides that's directed our immediate attention. But short of that, we've continued to try and strengthen some of our allegiances and some of our initiatives with other departments. We're working pretty tight with other members from other criminal investigation divisions, to include the Swidara Police Department, Susquehanna's Police Department, and other initiatives to include, like with ATF. I'm not sure if anyone is aware of it, but we have a current initiative with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, where we recommend cases from whether they be through patrol arrests such as these, or through follow-up investigations that the detectives are working on, where we're looking for, I guess, the best possible route for conviction, whether it be through the federal system or whether it's through the state system. So we meet pretty frequently with the ATF and go over cases for potential indictments. And what our criteria mainly for that is, what we're looking for are the firearms and the drugs and stuff connected with that. On top of that, we've also been monitoring the bail issue in regards to persons that are being arrested with the illegal firearms, for those that are aware of the initiative that was started back with the bail. And one of the things that we've been tasked with, even through our crime analyst officer, is just ensuring that the people that we do get, that the correct bail is being assessed to them. I'm actually going to kind of defer off if you have specific questions of anything that we're working on. And understand, although I'm not telling you a whole lot, there are things that are constantly going on that I'm really not at liberty to speak with now. But just understand that we have quite a few other initiatives that are being worked on at this point, but we're not able to talk about them at this point. So.
You can now hear from Sergeant Hooper, but he will not get into any details about any cases. He will talk about the confiscation of over $70,000 on the table displayed that came from one arrest the other day. He will give you some brief information on some weapons that they took off the street and some drugs. Sergeant Hooper.
Thank you, Chief. Captain? What's that? Serious. How you doing? Good morning. I'm Sergeant Milo Hooper, obviously with Harrisburg Borough Police. I'm the unit commander of the Street Crimes Unit. If you don't know, basically the Street Crimes Unit is a multi-jurisdictional unit comprised of Dauphin County Probation, State Parole, and obviously Harrisburg City Police. We deal primarily with street-level drug activity, repeat offenders, violent crimes, things like that. We do work hand in hand, as Captain Moody had spoke with other agencies as well, being Drug Task Force, the Probation Drug Unit, U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, the ATF, and things like that. I know we laid all this product out for everyone to see. Let me just go over a couple of numbers real quick, just to give you an idea of what's going on in reference to the Street Crimes Unit. This is what we wear. If you ever see us around and you see this outfit, this is the Street Crimes Unit. Some says police, some says parole, some says agent. The parole obviously is Dauphin County. The agents are actually state parole, but we're all one unit. We all train together. We do everything together. It's not a thing where the police is here, okay, now it's probation, now it's state parole. We are one unit that is just put together to be one unit to go out and attack crime in the city of Harrisburg. Since January of this year, January, February, March, April, May, basically the first 5 months, the first 5 months, we've comprised, let me step back. Our unit is actually made up of, I believe it's 16 officers. We have 7 police officers. We have 6 Dauphin County probation officers, and we have 2 state parole officers. So that's comprised of the unit. And with those individuals, since January this year, we have gotten 219 arrests. We've seized 1 vehicle, 17 firearms, and $30,465 worth of drugs. I have a breakdown if anyone wants that information, but basically, like I said, like over $30,000 worth of drugs in the first 5 months of this year, and you're only talking about the Street Crimes Unit. That has nothing to do with what patrol takes off the street, what the detectives take off the street, the Vice Unit takes off the street. So to let you know that things are being done. As the chief said, a lot of people believe that the police aren't doing anything. There's obviously a lot to do. As well as cash. I know we have a large amount of cash here, but outside of that, our totals for this year so far is $87,065 that we have confiscated as a unit. So money is the main thing that really puts dents in people's pockets. Everything's being ran by money. They're selling the drugs for money. So if you can start pulling that money away from them, that's where the damage is going to be done. So it's a constant attack. Firearms, drugs, money. Reference to this seizure. This seizure took place within the last week, without going into any specifics. This is actually a one incident, one situation that we came across. To give you some total numbers, the amount of cash you see is $70,251. As you can see, if you get a chance, most of this money is broken down into smaller denominations, 20s, 5s, 10s, things like that. We have very little 100s and 50s. And the reason why I say that is because that's pretty much indicative of street-level drug activity. When you go to sell on the street, you're not selling hundreds and $200 worth. You're selling $20 here, $20 there. So if you look at this and think about it that way, each one of these dollars, each one of these bills you see on this table potentially represents a person that could have bought something and that we actually stopped them from purchasing in the city of Harrisburg. So you can look at each one of these dollars as a life that's been saved. So that's something to think about. This is actually Officer Darren Bates. He's the senior officer in our unit, the most senior officer with the Street Crimes Unit. He's one of the individuals involved in this seizure. So, like I said, we're out there. We drive around in undercover cars, basically. You might not know we're out there, but we are out there. If anybody ever needs anything or wants any information or anything like that, you can contact Chief Carter. We work directly through the chief's office. And I am very appreciative of the chief. I told him I was going to say that, but no, all jokes aside, I'm very appreciative of the chief because the chief really has our back. He's really gave us a lot of latitude to do what we have to do. There's a lot of other things that we have done that obviously we're not going to speak about right now because of the way things are being done. It's still in the works. But you know, I appreciate the fact that there's someone there that has our backs and says, listen, do what you have to do to make things happen. And this is a result of that. Thank you.
So you have it. I'm sure that you have questions. I cannot answer any questions about any open homicide cases. I can just say, you know, that they're being worked on, progress is being made in them, and that's all the information that I can give you. Anything that I can't answer, I'm sure that either Captain Moody, Captain Cleary, or Sergeant Hooper can answer. So we'll open up the floor for questions. Just one more thing, you know, just to let the citizens know that we are not about talk, we are about action too. And the things that we say, we are out there doing. Day in and day out, our officers are being put at risk because they want to make this here a better city, a safer city. Uniform Patrol and CID, they're both short of officers. And we have a campaign going on now where we're hiring new officers. So please broadcast this here. Anybody that wants a career in law enforcement, become a Harrisburg police officer. It's more than just a job. Okay. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry, I forgot to touch on one thing, and I wanted to update you guys on the camera system. I know there were some questions about the camera system and the use of the camera system. Just last week, without the specifics again of it, by utilizing the camera system, we were able to focus in on a report of a man with firearms in the city around the 13th and Derry Street area. With the assistance of the Uniform Patrol and Capitol Police, we were able to pull up the camera system. We were able to capture the gentleman that we were reported about, and as a result, we recovered 2 firearms, one being a stolen firearm for this gentleman. So just an update on the camera system and how it's being utilized in the city. There's a classic example of that working through the CID division, and we were able to radio in to the uniform guys, and they were able to make the arrest. So.
Yes, questions?
I was going to say, can you explain a little bit more? You said 70 grand in cash, but can you explain some of the guns and some of the other things you have laid out on the table?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
What's your question?
Yeah, can you explain some of the guns? You just touched on the cash, but what exactly type of weapons do you have on the table?
You have, well, let me start with this thing because this is one that everyone seems to like. This, as you can see, is kind of like brass knuckles with multiple blades on it. It's pretty sharp object. This was seized in this incident. What's the use for this? You tell me. I'll just leave it at that. Reference to the weapons, you have some assault rifles, semi-automatic handguns, a revolver. Also, I'm not going to touch any of this because a lot of this is still evidence. This is what's considered a crack pipe. I don't know if you guys get to see that stuff or not. I know you hear a lot of these things. It's just a glass tube, basically. You put some fill in it, put fire on one end, stick some crack in it, and you just take it from there. You have some heroin packets, some packaging material that can be used to package either heroin, crack cocaine, marijuana, powder cocaine, anything like that. Anything that basically can keep it dry. That's what they use. This is actually some crack cocaine that's in kind of what's called a corner tie. A corner tie is basically if you have a sandwich bag, you take a piece of crack cocaine, put it in the corner, you roll it up, twist it, make a knot, and rip it off. That's your corner tie. So if you see, just for parents, if you see sandwich bags laying around your house and the corners are missing, you might want to start thinking what's going on there. But that's what that is. Then you got some heroin and some hashish, things like that that's just laid out here. Did that answer your question?
All this was seized this week, everything?
No, not everything was seized this week. The guns that were seized with this, we ran out of space. So we didn't put all the guns up, but what happens is these are guns that were seized this year with our unit as well as patrol. Some of the ones that we were actually able to bring up were not actively being used in the case. We do have more guns back there if you really wanted us to put them all up there, but we ran out of space, too much money.
But $70,000 was seized this week?
The cash itself is the seizure of one specific seizure. It's not a combination of events. It is actually one place that was taken care of, and we removed that money out of the house. And there was drugs as well as guns, and that crazy knife.
How often do you see something like this in one location?
Do you mean this amount of money?
Yeah, and all the weapons and everything.
Well, The thing about this is, it's an interesting job. The chief was just talking to us as a unit within the last week because there's peaks and valleys, and we were in a valley of it. And so it's hard to say it's often, but it happens. You have to understand when we deal with people, I mean, this is a dangerous job. When we deal with people, this is what they have on them. Most of the people you see in the streets, when you're actually going in the streets, a lot of these people have these weapons on them. You don't know that just because of the nature of the business you're in, but when we deal with these people, this is what we have to deal with. This is why a lot of times we're so, I don't want to use the word overbearing, but you have to show some force when you come to someone because you don't know what they have. And you can't allow persons to go in their pockets because what can you do with this thing? You can slide it right in your pocket. You let someone go in your pockets, and then that's why you see things sometimes and you don't understand what you're seeing and you wonder why the police, well, he was just going in his pockets to get his phone or his ID, and why'd the police do that? That's why the police do it. Things like that. That's a little big, but things like that. You take off the top pieces of that, you can have that. We had a guy who had something similar in his belt buckle. The belt buckle came apart and it was a dagger. He had another one behind him. And he was actively fighting with the police. And all they were trying to do is to get his hands from behind his back so they can talk to him. So, I'm not on the soapbox, but don't be so quick to jump on what's going on now that you see what can actually be put out there.
We just want you by the podium.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All that wonderful sound.
When you talk about the cash and stuff like this, and that's more indicative of our narcotics unit, our vice unit, which are the undercover officers that would blend in and you would just not know that they were police officers. They tend to deal with more of the volume where they have the longer term investigations. Not to take away from this unit, but when you say, do you see this commonly? These are the things that our narcotics units will do. When they do a search warrant, they'll build up, they'll make buys on people, they'll then serve search warrants, and then this is where you start to see more of the money play and stuff like that.
And this was actually, and I'm glad Captain Moody spoke on that. We do that as well. We're kind of like the in-between of the detective unit and the patrol unit. We do the surveillance, we do the search warrants, and this happened to come from a search warrant based on just the officer's observations. And like I said, I'm not going to get into the details, but this is what became of that.
How many people were arrested? How many people were arrested?
In reference to this?
Yes.
There was more than one.
Do you have charges against anybody?
Yes, we have charges on multiple people.
And we can get their names from you?
I'm not going to provide you with their names, but I'm sure if you need to look into it, you can.
All right, what type of situations, or can you explain the type of situations you were in to actually seize this money?
This particular or in general?
Well, no, this money here. Can you explain some of the situations where you were able to seize this money?
Without going into details, I'll give you more of a generalization. This unit is a proactive unit. We go out there, we seek information. Like I said, we do surveillance. This came from a combination of those events. Maybe information, maybe surveillance, some good police work, follow-up investigations, and that was the result of this. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be evasive, but this just took place, and we can't really get into it too much.
So they were all search warrants, all...
This was a result of a search warrant based on what the officers in the unit observed.
More than one search warrant?
No, it was one search warrant.
It was just one? Okay.
Yes.
All right, but more than one arrest?
Yes. It resulted in multiple arrests.
Which section of the city? General section?
The Hill section.
South?
And if I could, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If I could just touch on what Sergeant Hooper is referring to with the unit. This specific unit, as he stated the first time, is a proactive unit. It's 100% proactive. I'd say more, maybe 95% proactive. Now, they will work on things that need to be worked on, but the general calls for service, they don't handle that stuff. They go out looking. They're the ones that seek. They set up the surveillance. They may have an area that we will send them in as we get complaints from neighbors like, hey, this neighborhood is doing this, this, and that, they have the flexibility where we can send them in. They can set up on a neighborhood for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a day. It doesn't matter. They're not burdened with that, so they can give them the focused attention that they need. And that's what you get as a result when you're able to put that together. I just jumped in, so.
No, that's great. There's been recent shifting of the department and wherever you're putting men and women. Is this a reflection of that, or is this something, a continuation of previous, how we fought crime before?
This is a continuation, but we just added a couple twists to it. The street crimes unit, they work directly for me. Wherever that, we look at the hotspot areas and we see, that there is particular problems, we will send them there. Their main mission, they support Captain Cleary's people, they support Captain Moody's people, but their main mission is to engage street-level criminals, be it felons, be it drug dealers, be it whomever, and go after those people. Any criminal activity, they target. These are the guys that work for me, and as Sergeant Hooper here is very polite and like saying, but I challenge them every day, and I make sure that they're out there doing the right things. Not that they're not, but the city needs to be cleaned up, and we're cleaning up the city with the help of everybody. It is a joint effort, and we meet on it every Monday, and we come up with like different strategies that we want to do to make sure that things are being done correctly here.
Are you
We
getting
meet
better
with-
cooperation from the public? I mean, that's always been the big.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. We are, with the crime groups, thanks to Dave Patero, who's standing behind you, we're getting more cooperation from the public, from the different crime groups. People are calling in, they're giving their names, they're telling us what people are wearing, what kind of cars they're driving. They're even willing to testify in the hearings and what have you. So yeah, everything is changing, the culture is changing here, and without the general public, we couldn't do half of this, This all stemmed from a complaint from the general public and observation of Officer Bates right here. Okay? I thank you for your time. You can get some close-ups of the money. You just can't touch it, and you can't touch any of the weapons.
We can't
Thank
take
you.
it. No, we can't take a couple.
What's that?
We can't take a couple.
No, no.
Sure, you can take them, but we'll be talking when you're done.